page immediately.
Like,
It is searchable.
within seconds.
Yeah.
And being a web page, like Cheri just said, it's totally searchable in Google. And you'll see a lot of individual tweets that sit out there in Google when you're looking at certain subjects. We recently had a few politicians that ran into that situation.
Right.
Don't want to go terribly negative, but it's there forever, and they can't delete it.
Well, on that note, too, I noticed, and I even said it to some folks, unless they were completely secure in their beliefs, because, funny things about beliefs, they're yours, right? Not everyone necessarily agrees, and 99% of the stuff that's out there is opinion. So, you can say almost anything, and there's going to be a different opinion from somebody out there. So I saw people lose their mind during this election over social media to a degree, and, I'm not getting into it. I'm just saying you want to be careful about that. And, the hard part about social media is there used to be these conversations that you'd have in your own home, and that's where they would stay, or among your elite group of friends. That's not what you're doing when you're in social media. You have to understand the purpose of it. These things that you say, you are responsible for your content. It's very easy because words are, used so often, so many times. I mean, I'm a talker, right? You probably can tell. I learned, with this evolution we're going through here, that you have to be pretty careful about what you say online. It's not the same as just saying something and apologizing, especially as you get further and further in your career or older in age. You're more responsible. You're always responsible for what comes out of your mouth. But like you guys are saying, this is something that will stay there. And someone could say, you think these things. I mean, it happened in our election, right? Well, you say this, but this is what you type. So, are you lying? Because you're saying this, but you typed this. Which one of them is true?
I actually associate social media today as our new water cooler. We're in the office. When I first started working, we all gathered around the water cooler, before the start of the day or during break time or after lunch, and we had a little conversation. And we always knew in that office environment, we were very careful because there were so many diverse people in their opinions. You didn't want to get started in any drama because you had to work with these people. So you wanted to be true to yourself, and I find the best way to be true to yourself is to make sure that you are clear and concise with your message. But that doesn't mean you have to go out and give every opinion about everything, which is going to cause an uprising. So I'm very careful about what I say as well. People that know me, they know where I stand on what I stand on. I am very open about my Christian belief because this is how I base my company. My whole company is based on how I serve people, and it's done, through my Lord Jesus Christ. And I state that very openly, and not to be offensive to anyone. I'm very fair to everyone. I believe we all have our own God that we look to, but I am very careful on not preaching that to people.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think telling what your opinion is, which is a lot of what we're sharing here. Hey, this is my opinion. This is your thought, right? Not everyone's going to agree with it, but at the same time, hopefully, it provides some value to those that may agree or hey, I haven't thought of that. At the same time, there's 2 billion people that agree with you, so there's different folks that believe different things in different categories. Who knows? Most
definitely. Well, another thought I had, and I'm often asked this because I do work with a lot of individuals on LinkedIn. And, I've heard some amazing stories, how LinkedIn has really led them to their next job. We have some stories where it has led us to some great speaking engagements. But if someone is currently employed and they want to change careers, how do they do that effectively on social media? What would your recommendation be that they do?
Call me.
There you go. We'll give out your information. How can they get in touch with you?
Well, since we're on that, I'll say that. So, you can check out our services at vaco.com. That's V as in Victory, A as in Apple, C as in Charlie, O. That's our kind of global website. My office is in Orlando, so our website is vacoorlando.com. My email is just my first initial last name, tlesnick@vaco.com, or you can call our office in Maitland. It's 321-445-2100, and we'll be glad to help you. But For some reason, I already forgot your question, but I just remembered it.
Doesn't that happen all the time?
It's hard to give a commercial.
Basically, they want to find a job, but they have to be very careful
well,
because they're currently employed.
Totally. So I think there's a lot of mistakes that happen in this area. I think people immediately go online and immediately just upload their resume to Career Builder, and then they start sending their resume all over town and hoping to hear from someone. A couple weeks can go by of doing that type of activity, and you might not hear anything, and people will, your network will say, "How's the job search going?" "Oh my God, I'm exhausted. I've been sending resumes out every day all over the place." And to me, that's actually not the effort. The internet, to a degree, is actually hurt the hiring process and hurt your, process because of finding a position. So, this is a segue to your question. I think the first thing you need to do is talk to your sphere of influence, your people that are closest to you, and get a gut check. A job change, whether you're fired or you're leaving or you're downsized, is an opportunity for you to reflect on your path, right? And so usually those closest to you can help you. And a lot of people aren't completely happy in their job. Even though employment is now low again, there's still a tremendous amount of people that are underemployed, and they're not doing what they really want to do and what they love. So one strategy I give folks to do is to write down the 10 things that they're best at, write down the 10 things that they would do if money was not an object, and then write down 10 things they would do if they won, say, $20 million in the lottery. The reason why those 3 lists are important is because if you can compile those lists together, they can help you find what you're really passionate about. So if you find something that came up, say you love cooking, right? And that's what you would do all day. And if you won, $20 million, maybe you'd start your own cookie show because, maybe you're afraid to go try out for a Top Chef or something, whatever. If you see that's a passion of yours, these are things that can help you lead to the industry or profession you're looking for. So I know I'm getting a little bit off your topic, but it's just a tool or an idea I wanted to give folks to use.
They're great tips.
So then, garbage in is garbage out, or garbage out is garbage in. So if you just update your resume and paste your company's job description into your thing and throw your resume up as soon as possible, the results, you may not be getting the results that you want because you're not putting the time and energy and effort into changing that stuff. So if you can get with, a firm like ours and a couple people, which, we place maybe 1 out of a dozen people we meet. So it's not like I'm going to guarantee we can place you or anything like that. It just helps to get professional advice when you're trying to take the next step of doing anything. So I think your own network is going to be a great place. I think really understanding who you are, self-awareness is huge, and becoming even more important now, because if you know who you are and what you stand for and what you are about, that's going to be congruent and consistent throughout your message, right? And so once you've done that, then you might want to start putting some things on social media to make a change, right? I think it's better if you're seeking out those opportunities than broadcasting it like a blast email, to everyone to see, because frankly, I want to talk to someone that no one knows about, right? And so if I can talk to you early enough, we have a lot more leverage for you and can give you a lot more options. If you've applied to 40 companies, well, I can't represent you to those 40 companies, just as an example. I don't mean to make this answer selfish. Where I'm trying to get at is, you don't know where your next opportunity is going to come from, whether you're unemployed or not. So you want to start with your immediate group. You want to make sure that what you have is polished and put together well. I don't recommend spending $200, $300, $400, $500 in resume services, by the way, because just about every firm out there like mine will help you, give you advice for free. You can search a lot of this stuff on the internet, right? You just go on Google and great resumes, bad resumes, and you just type it in there, and a lot of the great resumes are doing exactly what I said. They're easy to read, they're accomplishment driven, they're short, and they tell people what they do and when they did it, what they did while they were there. Sorry, I'm talking really fast. I think it's because there's a stopwatch, and I know our timeline is.
Well, the resume is just like going back to the dating. It's a teaser,
right?
Like you say, you want the phone to ring, or you want to get an email to take you to the next step. So, you have to look at it like that. And I thought that was a very brilliant analogy to to our audience to listen to.
And I liked where you're going with this, is because what you're saying is, yes, social media, if someone is looking for someone like you to fill a position, what they see out there is going to be the first impression of you. But if you're actively seeking a position, it's not just having that image. You do yourself have to take action. And we can't forget the face-to-face networking either. And so many people are so dependent on just sending those resumes or looking through the internet. They forget, again, that they're going to meet people that they face-to-face that will get to know them, and they could become great referral sources.
Absolutely. And I think your network is the number one way. Really, our clients are paying for Vaco's network. It's an indirect way of looking at what we're doing, and then our expertise. And then, so if you're in our network, you're a part of that. There's a question that popped up. I don't know if that's from one of the listeners, but it says, does your company use word search in the resume? So, so we have a couple different processes. Like I said, we've built a database over many years, and how the database is created by interviewing hundreds of candidates in each of our office, probably 50 to 100 a week per office, right, depending on the volume of that week. And we build a profile for these people. So I might not have something for you individually that given day, but your search starts proactively from the day that I met you into the future. Now, if I never talk to you again, which I'm going to get to in a minute, your follow-up and using the communication is critical to that, meaning some people will send their resume into an opportunity or to a firm like mine, and then they might complain 2 weeks later, hey, I never heard from them. I think people are afraid of the phone, right? So just because I'm on it, I'm going to say it for a minute. It's really important that you know how to use the proper communication. Make sure the resume was received is a fine thing to do. Following up that it was, you would be surprised the number of people that don't do that, right? So I know I'm off the question.
No, but you stand out when you do that too.
Yeah, I'm just going to make sure that my resume got through. If you went in through your network, you're going to already know, right? And, to touch on that, what I mean by going through your network as opposed to just sending your resume out, if your next door neighbor works at Universal Studios, and you'd always want to work at Universal Studios, and let's say he's in IT, but you want a job in marketing. Well, if the IT director is your neighbor and you have a good relationship and you're able to have your nice polished resume and give it to him, say, if anything comes up at Universal, can you help me? The IT manager says, oh, we have something in marketing for you, Jim, and walks your resume into the marketing department. Jim's the IT director. You're going to get called. And so you have to be ready to talk and communicate about your background, your resume right then and there. So, but to answer the question on that, those are tips along the way. But yes, we use word search because if I've interviewed that many people and tomorrow my client needs someone with Angular JavaScript, for example, it's something from Google, it's a programming tool, and it's been popular in the last 2 years. And, it should be on their resume or potentially in their notes. And I can't think off the top of my head who I talked to very recently because our minds can only remember so much. We plug that in. We find, we've interviewed 300 people in the last 6 months that have this tool. And we'll send them either a quick email or call them literally one by one or look through that list and maybe try to narrow it down. So, we use keyword searches on resumes to narrow down the pool, because it's physically impossible if you're trying to fill a job as fast as possible in a couple of days to call, well, not impossible, but you're not going to call thousands of people. Yep. The reality is you want to narrow down your list and call, half a dozen or a dozen or more or so, or less.
Well, that's
Great
why your resume needs to be rememberable.
Totally. That's why it needs to have what you've done on there.
It's got to imprint in your mind where, like you said, something happens for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I got to find that.
Well, everything you've been sharing this past, hour they're all tips and tricks and do's and don'ts without saying this is a tip, this is a trick, this is a do, this is a don't. So I'm so hoping our listeners are definitely taking some notes. If not, definitely go to talkradio.com and then click on the So Social Radio show later today, and the podcast of this show today will be there for you to listen again. And I highly recommend that you listen to it and share it with those that are actively seeking some positions out there. We want to make sure. And I have another question that came in. Should a resume be in Word or a PDF format?
I think, both can apply. I prefer Word because I'm going to most likely recommend changes and then take your personal information off of there when I represent you. It allows me to make manipulations if I need to, because your
good
resume is
idea.
going to be tailored. I'm not going to take all day long to change your resume for you, but there might be some changes I need to make.
To enhance it.
Right.